people are just, they're curious.
Yeah, I can't see. Sorry.
No, you're good. Answer the best of your ability, man. No
Okay,
pressure.
yeah, no problem, man.
Question: was his sister Amanda in a slasher film back in 2011?
Was his sister in a slasher film?
Yeah, I don't know where this shit's coming from.
So, like I said, I graduated in 2011.
Okay.
So as soon as I graduated, I was one of the ones that got out of that area, because that area after I graduated, like when I was throwing parties and stuff, there was never any like hard drugs. That was like not even a thing to even think about. But after like I graduated, then drugs polluted that area. And from what I heard from somebody that was a friend of his that hung out with him after high school throughout this whole time, is he got into, I guess, some drugs. And I don't know the extent of that. Again, I'm not going to pretend to know the extent of that. The only questions I can answer is what I remember throughout high school, knowing his mother, and just seeing him. I mean, almost every day. Like I said, it's just when I saw who it was, right now there's people that I remember in high school, but I don't remember the thoughts. But if I saw them and something was brought up, then the thoughts come back. And that's where you start remembering occasions where you interacted with this person. Like I know everybody saw the interview with Skylar Jacobson when he was talking about jogging with him.
Yes.
Yeah. So Skylar I know very well, and even he said, like, he texted him to go jogging with him to have somebody else to jog with. So obviously Skylar felt comfortable. Nobody saw this coming that actually knew him from school. But after high school, people change. So I don't know if something changed. I believe if somebody asked me what the motive was, he got too involved in his criminal studies and studying serial killers, and and he's taking it to a next level. That would be my guess, because this is just crazy.
So, all right. So Tracy said drug use, ? What type of girlfriends?
What type of girlfriend? The drug use was heroin, and type of girlfriend was a normal, I guess. She was also intelligent. Like I said, there was like certain cliques. So, he was in like groups after school, like, for instance, like the chess club or after school academic studies and stuff like that. So he was in all those groups. So I can't remember who it was, but I just faintly remember how long they were dating and kind of what she looked like, and just a regular, average high schooler. Nothing, nothing crazy.
Somebody asked, okay, so coming in from Courtney, she says, was Bryan incel?
Was Bryan incel? I need some definition on incel.
Incel, I got you right now. Hold on. It's incel. I'll break down the meaning for you. That way, a member of an online community of young men who consider themselves unable to attract women sexually, typically associated with views that are hostile toward women and men who are sexually active.
Oh, wow. Like I said, I wouldn't doubt it if how it was in grade school continued, but I'm just telling you flat out, he made a complete 180 in high school, and he was involved in like the after school academic clubs. Grades were always the best, got one of the highest scores in the Pennsylvania state assessment. So, not that I saw, I mean, like I said, I knew everybody in the school, every clique I knew. So if anything happened, like if anything was going on, because remember, this guy came to my party, so I didn't allow anybody to just come to my parties. If you were a troublemaker or you were a sicko or anything of that nature, or an incel or whatever it's called, you weren't allowed to come and be around other people. That's just not how I operated. So, but I never judged anybody. I never judged a certain soul in high school, other than, like I said, the people that caused trouble. Everybody just kind of steered away from them. So, yeah, I didn't see nothing like that. That's
okay.
If anything, I figure it would be the complete opposite, because of, like I said, he just got more outgoing and started dating girls, and completely different than what was going on when he was, I guess, heavy and, getting picked on throughout grade school.
The heroin thing's true? The heroin thing's true?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. So, and then another one. All right. So from Steffi Marshall, what kind of music did he listen to?
That I can't tell. I'm not going to pretend to know. I don't know.
Okay, got you. All right.
I don't know what kind of.
Did he meet? Oh man.
Okay, Leah. Sorry, I'm here with my daughter.
Stone Gator asked, did he eat meat?
Did he eat meat? Yeah, in high school, like I said, throughout high school, there was no veganism. There was no like any of that stuff. Like I remember lunch. I remember the table he sat. It's crazy because, like I said, I knew everybody at high school, and he ate school lunch. It was never, being vegan or whatever. I don't want to use the wrong terminology. Whatever he is now, as far as what he eats. But in high school, no, because remember he was really heavy in grade school. So if you're a vegan, it's very hard to get that heavy. So he wasn't a vegan his whole life. No.
Yeah, wow, that's interesting. All right, so another question. I got a special guest backstage, but we're gonna get these questions off to you because a lot of people have questions, and here we go.
Okay.
Do you think allegedly he killed them? Says Elizabeth Polkowski.
Yeah, so like I said, this is why I haven't really talked about it too much like this because I don't want to be labeled as anything. With what I'm seeing and what evidence that they're allowing out right now, and then just looking at how it was done, I personally, I want to say, if they have the evidence and they're doing all this, and there's this much news, yeah, they have overwhelming evidence. But on the other hand, again, you just remember that person in high school, and there's just something that tells you maybe he didn't do it. Maybe this is just, I don't know. It's very hard to answer that when you actually know a person. So if everybody can just close your eyes, imagine somebody that you know from high school that was a very good student doing something like this. That's exactly how I feel. So,
Wow.
I don't know if that's the answer you want, but
I mean, it's something. It's an answer, Did he? Or no? Okay, that they already asked that. Do you know of any girlfriends you can name that he's had in college or anyone recently?
Negative. Like I said, after high school, it was just I got out of that area. But like I said, there's a good friend of mine that was a good friend of his after high school that I spoke to just very briefly because he's getting bombarded by news and so many outlets trying to get in contact with him. So it was just a quick one-liner, nothing that would really tell me anything. I don't want to bombard people with questions and stuff because again, it does nothing for me to do all that. I'm just hope that, like I said, justice is served for these 4 families, and if he did it, then he deserves a death penalty. If he did this, he deserves a death penalty, period. I don't care if I knew him in high school, even if I was best friends with him, he deserves a death penalty. So I will tell you, I don't have any remorse if he did it as far as what his sentence should be. It should be flat out death.
Absolutely, man. Amy says, do you think his parents would know anything and cover for him? I don't believe they do, but you might have more insight.
No, his mother was very, very nice. She was one of the only people that I really remember from high school, Miss Kohberger. And she was a substitute, worked at the school. She wasn't a main teacher at the school, but she was very nice. I mean, very, very nice woman. So personally, no, I don't think his parents had any knowledge of it or any involvement, because if they did and they own the car, the first thing I would have done if my child did something like that is get rid of that car, sell the car, trade the car, do something with it. Don't drive it across the country with your father. So, there's a lot that I'm looking at that if he did this and he's trying to commit the perfect murder, he did a lot of stupid stuff.
Right. No doubt about that, brother. And Marissa says, have you been contacted by police or contacted them?
Yeah, I called in and gave information, but like I said, everything I say is just how I remember him from high school. It's nothing that I can give them as far as how he acted recently or in the upcoming weeks, years, days. It's just more of what I remember, and whatever I told him, I'm guessing doesn't really help because I'm telling him exactly what I told you guys, and I don't want to paint him out to be this perfect person, but I'm just telling you my opinion from going to school with him, how he was and how I perceived him to be when I left Pleasant Valley, because Again, I thought he was going to be a surgeon or doctor or something like that. He was very intelligent and one of the few kids in the school that you knew was intelligent. Like you knew he was smart. You could tell. So again,
was his nose ever broken back in school?
Negative.
Okay.
Yeah, his nose was always like that. You just couldn't really tell his facial features like distinctly until he lost weight. So I remember his face looking like that. So whoever was saying like his nose might have been broken during the fight back or whatever, to me, that's a possibility. But in reality, if he went to school the next day or he went to class and he was a teacher's assistant, like how do you like my big question is, I guess my question to you, now I have a question for you or anybody, is how does somebody stab 4 people up close, obviously, and they're saying they have defensive wounds, but he went to class the next day without gloves on. He didn't wear gloves. He went to class the next day and was a teacher's assistant, which means he was visible to everybody, and he had no defensive wounds, no scratches on his face. All I hear is he was quiet and different afterwards or something like that. But nobody's saying anything that they visualize any defensive wounds. How is that possible?
Right. And that would be something totally
He's not a big dude. Like, I mean, the video today of him walking through the courthouse, he had a vest on underneath that. He's not a big, muscular, overpowering person that would have 0 defensive wounds. I mean, if I felt a stab, I'm fighting, punching, kicking, spitting, something to leave some kind of trace on him. But to go to class and be the teacher's assistant and actually be visual to everybody, that's, like I said, there's just certain things that I'm looking at it that make me think maybe he didn't do it, but then they say this and you see that and you're like, maybe he did do it. So that's why I'm kind of just waiting to see that actual big piece of evidence that they have. And then I could say, oh, wow, but until then, I'm just kind of calculating everything and asking questions on how that could be. Do you have an answer for that?
I mean, you would be you got to think about it like this. You would be in a classroom full of sleuths, people who are into people who are studying criminology. So you're around people who are already into that. So if they notice something like that on your hands, face, nose broken, anything like that, they would definitely be on top of that. Tip probably be sent in by the end of the day.
Exactly.
In my opinion.
He wasn't like this seems like the act of just how the murders happened just seems like it's a hitman. I mean, to leave no trail of blood anywhere outside of the home at all after stabbing 4 individuals and them not finding somebody for 2 months, and just the way it happened just seemed like it's like a professional. That's what it seems like. Now, I didn't really know anything about this case until it was all over the news that it was Bryan Kohberger, and then I started, looking into what happened, 2 months ago, and I don't really know. Do you know how many stab wounds were on each victim?
No, I do not, and I wouldn't. I don't even want to guess because that's, what I'm saying. But yeah, I don't know how many.
Yeah. Well, the reason I ask is just because that would create a lot of blood to go everywhere. So I figure in his car, even if you cleaned it with the best cleaning product in the world, you could still find, that there was blood on that location. So there has to be blood in that car somewhere.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
I would agree.
And to be pulled over twice and just questioned like that and let go, I don't know.
Right. Something's up.
Something's not right.
All right.
Yeah, something's not right.
Michelle says, does he have kids?
No.
Greg says, did Bryan have, we already answered that question. Did Bryan play high school sports?
No, he did not. He was more, like I said, into the academic side of school, but he became very active as far as losing weight, running, but he never played track and field or anything like that. So like I said, I played baseball, so I know who played what and stuff like that. So
and then another question right here. Let's see. BBN Turner says, was Bryan prone to mood swings or go through phases of hanging out a lot, then move on to isolate for a bit?
So like I said, back in grade school, there was a lot, he was very, I guess you can say, isolated. He just didn't really interact with a lot of people. Picked on a little bit. I was picked on myself in grade school. I was a little heavier. But then in high school, after he, it was a transformation, which everybody remembers. Like if you ask anybody that didn't really know Bryan, they'd still remember that he lost a lot of weight in high school. No, not really. Not as far as like what I remember in high school days. Back in grade school, yeah, there was more of isolation in grade school rather than moving forward in high school, because that's where you started hanging out with a lot of people and gaining confidence and actually, talking to girls, getting a girlfriend. So,
was there a period of time in his early 20s that he went MIA? Was he interested in government, military, anything like that? But I remember you saying something about after high school, you pretty much didn't see him after that, correct?
Yeah, like I said, I moved out of the area, but I can tell you that, he stayed in the area because his parents live up there. So he was always in the area after, from the sales and stuff like that. And, he would hang out with people I went to school with. But I can't tell you a first person, firsthand of, but yeah, all I remember is up until he was 18, as far as what I recall. What I can remember after that, it's going to be hearsay from what friends or classmates that I had told me.
So B-Bomb asked, how recent have you spoken to Bryan or any member of his family?
Bryan, I believe the last time I spoke to Bryan was my senior year. Like I said, he was a year younger than me. In the weight room, actually. I can't tell you what I said. I don't have a memory like that. But just normal conversation. Like I remember telling him, like, it's because I had a transformation as well in high school where I got really big. So I noticed that what he was doing, and I actually told him, hey, I noticed what you're doing. Keep it up. I even think I helped him with a couple of his workouts or something like that. So yeah, it was just a normal interaction in the weight room is kind of the last thing that I remember. And then I had a whole bunch of interactions with his mother in school all the time. And like I said, she was just a very nice lady. So I don't want anybody to think that or speculate that his parents were involved or anything like that, because I personally don't see that.
Yeah, you couldn't see that. So from what you've seen, and Brenda said he left before 12/15/2022. Look at that video. Okay, now he left before 12/15. She's saying, okay, so it was 12/15 or maybe 12/13. Who knows? All right, so what were his parents like? Did he ever have a temper? Said Mr. Mojo Risen asked.
I'm reading reports of people they're interviewing that said that somebody put him, in a headlock or something like that. He was never, like I said, he lost a lot of weight. He wasn't big. He wasn't muscular, but he was skinny. And like I said earlier, he was very academically inclined. So he didn't get in trouble in school. He didn't get in trouble for fighting. He wasn't he just didn't get in trouble at all, because that would ruin your, anything you're trying to go for. So from what I remember in high school, he never got in a fight. He never did anything. Now outside, if whatever he did with his friends, if they fought, wrestled, whatever, I can't tell you. But as far as what I remember, he wasn't a big troublemaker in school at all. And like I said, he was just very smart, top of his class. And, if you asked me 10 days ago about him, I'll tell you the same thing. This is just what I remember.
Okay, so let me go to the next question here, and it is, did he know anything about him? All right, we already covered the using drugs part. Was he a gamer? Sarah on the prairie says, was he a gamer? What games did he hunt?
Was he a gamer?
Yes.
As far as playing video games?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, so he was a gamer.
As far as what kind of games? I can't tell you that.
Okay.
I can't tell you that because I don't know what his games or preferences were. I just know that he played video games, listened to music. He was in those academic clubs after school, and I just remember him working out. But I can't tell you what, if he played any like Hitman games or any kind of games that would put somebody in a mentality to do something heinous like this. I couldn't tell you.
Right. Yeah, that would be.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty crazy. So let's jump into the next. Here's another question here, and it says, "How was his mother with him?"
How was his mother? What happened?
Was his mother and his relationship good? If when you went around, was it? Did they have a good relationship? Were they argumentative? I'm guessing that's the question that they were asking.
So, like I said, Bryan's mother worked at the school. So like I said, she was a very nice lady. I remember he used to go home with her. She never like yelled at him in the hallway or like berated him in front of anybody. So what I remember, they had a good relationship, close relationship. And like I said, he was basically living at home but going to college. So he would go home all the time from college because the sales is not far away from where his parents live. So, from what I remember, him and his parents had a good relationship. Again, I can't tell you after I left there, but from what I heard, he was going back home all the time. So if he had a bad relationship with his parents or something like that, I'm assuming they wouldn't, let him back to the house or fly all the way out to Washington to drive back with them. So what I remember, they had a good relationship. And then from what I heard, they had a good relationship afterwards. So again, I just think that if he did this, his parents didn't have any knowledge, and he was really good at hiding it, because to drive across country with your dad and not say anything about nothing, that's crazy.
Yeah, so, no, absolutely, brother. And let me get this on here for you.
And I guess they said he was afraid of flying. Can anybody confirm that? Okay.
Yeah, I heard it in this body cam actually. He's afraid of flying, and I don't know. I have to go back and re-listen to it because I was reading comments as well, and I like to give him my full attention to make sure that's what was said. But I'm pretty sure the cop mentioned that. So I heard something about afraid of flying. I don't know. It could have been the dad. I absolutely don't. I don't know who was saying it because the body cam was aimed down. So
yeah, because that's the one thing that didn't make sense to me is like if Dad's gonna fly out there, they're gonna drive back, and then Bryan's gonna drive all the way back instead of just flying Bryan out and flying him back. That's what was suspicious to me. But if he didn't want to fly, then I guess that makes sense. From what I heard, they had that trip planned like way before I guess all this happened, but I'm not sure.
Oh, okay, so here's another one. Was his sister older? Was his family, mother and or sisters overly psychoanalytical, like overbearing to have conversation with? Ken asked. Thank you, Ken, for the question.
No, his sister, I didn't know too much. I can't really comment on his sister. All I know is I think she's in a field of mental health, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. But as I said earlier, every interaction I had with his mother was fine. There was a lot of teachers in that school I didn't like, so I would tell you. But like I said, Miss Kohberger she was a nice woman, very easy to have a conversation with. So like I said, just the complete opposite of an upbringing of some, like what you're used to somebody who to do something like this, or a serial killer, of being tormented their whole life, or they're being sexually abused or abused their whole life. There was none of that from anybody that knew Bryan, knew his mom, that would even think that at all. So that's what just makes this so mind-boggling, is where did something go wrong?
Mm-hmm.
So
like a lot of people are asking like how was his parents and this and that, but I've already asked you that.
I said, I don't know. I know people want to, they're looking for somewhere to blame, but his mother was a very nice woman, very nice. His dad, obviously, his dad worked a lot. I had obviously 99% more interaction with his mother than his dad. But his mother was a very nice woman. And like I said, very helpful, cheerful. And, I mean, obviously, like, they loved their son because his dad flew out there to drive however many hours across country with him. My dad probably wouldn't even do that for me. So, I'm assuming he had a great relationship with his parents, but I can't tell you 100% for sure. I'm just, from what I'm seeing, and the events that are coming out make sense to what I remember.
You're 570 area code, right?
Yep, Pennsylvania.
Exactly. I used to stay out in Allentown, Northampton.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Alexa, I actually went to, I didn't even think of that. I didn't see him, though. I'm not going to say that I saw him, but I actually went to Northampton Community College, which is where he went after Pleasant Valley High School.
Yeah, no, I seen something on that.
Yeah. So I lived in Bethlehem.
Yeah, bro, I've been to Bethlehem multiple times. Used to take that metro or the little bus that goes through there to Allentown all the way to Northampton. I lived in the town of Northampton where Jessica Paget was murdered. I don't know if you ever heard of that crime.
Yeah. That's about.
I was part of the search party. I was part of the search party for Jessica Paget.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I was in Bath, 10, 15 minutes away from Northampton, so not far at all.
Dude, Bethlehem's right there. So you got the knowledge of the town. Guys, he has the knowledge of everywhere that I'm talking about. So he called out Bethlehem. I've been all through Bethlehem.
Yeah, I can't see the comments. Why do they think I'm not, just pulling this stuff out of my ass?
Yeah, I don't know. Some people are like, I call Cap, he doesn't know Bryan. But, I mean, the area pretty well.
If anybody wants to, I don't mind anybody, if anybody wants to ask me more questions after I'm off here, you can have my Facebook. You can see where I'm from. I have nothing to hide.
Absolutely, brother. I believe you. I actually believe you. You're not coming off as bullshit to me right now. I don't think you're bullshitting me.
Well, I have no reason to lie. I'm watching people say all these things, and I'm just like, listen, if anybody wants to know what I remember as far as factual information from up until, leaving high school, then here I am. Because I just hate to see people putting down his mom, putting down his parents, putting down this, putting down that, when that's not at all true from my account. But again, after high school, I can't tell you if his mind went crazy. It's just somebody that has that much going for them, that is literally going for their PhD, to throw it all away like this. It's just, again, I can't wait to figure out the motive, because that's what is eating me. What is the motive?
Now my thing, somebody asked, Danny Van Sickle said, did he have a fascination with knives?
Not in high school. He didn't have any kind of fascination with weapons, but from what I heard, or what I'm seeing and what's coming out, is I guess he had a knife collection or something like that. So, but like I said, from what I remember, the ones who had knives and were into the gory and all that kind of stuff, you could tell from just how they carried themselves in school. Bryan was a smart individual that just got good grades, went to after school activities, was in all those, clubs that I wish I was smart enough to be in. And that's about it. Like I said, it was a very just smart, average guy who lost a lot of weight in high school. And again, when I left there, I just thought he was going to grow up and be a doctor, and that's it. I couldn't. He would be very last on my list to somebody that would be capable of carrying something out like this. But again, you never know who somebody is. So
yeah, exactly. Now, did he always act superior, or just after he lost weight, etc.?
No. Before he lost weight or anything, he didn't act superior at all. After he lost weight, if he lost weight and became very big, muscular, and was able to bully people and bully the ones that bullied him, I would tell you. But he never, he just lost weight, became skinny, so he wasn't really violent. Was that the question?
Yeah, it was sort of like that. Did he act superior? It was. I would guess.
Yeah. So he didn't. He just started hanging out with more of the popular people. So for him to act superior after just having a transformation really wouldn't make sense. So from what I remember, like I said, it was just all normal friendships. He had a relationship, smart kid.
When's the last time that you spoke with him, Susan? or Suyin, Alessandra. She wants to know, when was the last time you spoke with Chris?
Spoke with Chris?
Yes. When's the last time you actually, or when's the last time that you? Oh, that's what it says. When's the last? Maybe she's
I spoke
asking
with
that
Chris
question.
right now.
Hold on. When was the last time that Chris spoke with him? My bad. I misread that.
Okay.
I was reading two questions at once.
That's fine. Yeah, like I had said earlier, last time I spoke to him was in the weight room before, I graduated. So my senior year, I talked to him in the weight room about a workout he was doing or something like that. And yeah, I think I answered that question a little while ago. Yeah, so that was the last interaction I had with him, was in the weight room at Pleasant Valley High School my senior year. He was still working on himself, and like I said, it's just crazy because like knowing this person, remembering this person, and then seeing what this person potentially done, it's a tough position to be in. It kind of makes your mind just go crazy because anybody is capable of this in my mind now. If he did this, and anybody that I ever meet in my life again can just snap like that because there was no signs, in my opinion.
Okay, somebody asked, did you think you seen him at the vigil? And I don't know if you watched the Idaho 4 vigil, but there's a lot of claims out there that he was at the vigil.
Oh yeah, I can't. Like I said, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I know anything. I didn't. Like I said, I knew something happened in Idaho, but I didn't know how heinous and disgusting of a crime it was until they came out and said that they have the suspect, and that's where I started learning about it. So, was he at the vigil or not? I don't know, but I mean, just from what I know watching stuff, like people always like show back up to like the scene or do something like sick like that. So it's a possibility. But I mean, like just the fact that he executed or murdered 4 people and then went to school the next day as a teacher's assistant is
allegedly, right? Allegedly, he murdered 4. Yeah, but for sure, man, I get what you're saying. It blows your mind because he wouldn't strike you as that type of guy, and that is what you said, right?
I mean, and also, but then also, if somebody that I remember, if that person killed 4 people, they wouldn't be that calm. Like they wouldn't just go back to class, and like his mind had to have been racing, freaking out every second of every day after committing those murders. Like the fact that he even went to class all the time after that, they're saying, is crazy. Like I don't like that's serious mental problems. Like in that aspect, if this is all true and this is exactly what he did, it's just like I said. I just want somebody to tell me how there's no defensive wounds anywhere for anybody to notice. And people keep telling me he was wearing gloves. If he was wearing latex gloves in class, somebody would have called on him. So I hear somebody say, "Oh, is that something on his knuckle in the body cam?" Like I'm talking about the day after the murder when he walked in as a teacher's assistant. How nobody said, "Hey, what's that big scratch in your neck?" or "Why's your nose broken?" or "Why this?" or "Why that?"
Absolutely agree with you 1,000% on that. I mean, come on. I mean, this happened on the 13th of November, ladies and gentlemen. We're looking at a whole damn near. We're looking at 30. It's pretty much 30 days over right here in this body cam footage.
Yeah, and then I hear somebody say blood on the car. Like, obviously, if he's a major in something of the criminal aspect, he's not going to keep blood on his car. If there's no blood in his car, he's not going to keep blood on the outside of his car. So, again, there's just so many people saying so many things, and I think it's because they're withholding so much from the public that, like, we're all just sitting here like, tell us something. I mean, that news conference that they just had, press conference they just had, didn't answer nothing at all.
Absolutely.
Not even
nothing.
A sliver.
The only thing it answered was 3 search warrants, and
Yeah. I mean, I'm just fearful of, because here's the thing. If he did it, his life's ruined. If he didn't do it, his life's still ruined. So, any way you cut this, like, I just hope they had enough evidence to know they had the right guy and not rush this just to have somebody because they haven't had somebody for so long. That's what I'm fearful of. But again, I want that person to be caught. And if he did it, he deserves a maximum, which is death. But I can just account from what I remember from this person, from what I know, back in high school and grade school. So I'm not here to blow any smoke or because I have no reason to. I gain nothing from this. after this phone call ends, I'm gonna go back to my normal life, and so are you.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. I appreciate you actually reaching out and answering the questions to the best of your ability. It's good to
No
actually
problem.
have somebody who knew him instead of, we're up here speculating and
Yeah.
going off things that, we think, or, and like you said, you never know what somebody's doing when they close that door and they're by themselves. And that was a great
Exactly.
point. That was a great
Yeah.
point. You just know what you've been around and seen from him, and you're explaining that part of it. So when you guys hung out or anything, he didn't distance himself from people? Was he just like a normal guy? Like if me and you were hanging out talking and just having a normal conversation?
Yeah, but it was like a slow conversation. Like it wasn't like me and you were back and forth right now. It was more of like a slow conversation. Like he didn't talk really fast or anything like that, or loud or anything. So it was more, and then that he kind of had like a stare, I guess, that people are saying. But that stare, I just remember he always like if he was looking at you, it just looked like he was like mugging you, like mean mugging you.
Right.
But yes, you can. I'm making a little bit, okay. But yeah, so that stare, whatever. That's just how he looked at everybody. From what I remember, that's how he looked at me, and I'm like, does he like me or not? But then I realized like that's how, he kind of looked at everybody, and that's just who he was. So, but again, I'm not sitting here defending him. I'm not sitting here saying he didn't do it. This is all BS. I'm just here, just recounting what I remember and giving you my side and trying to figure out for myself as well.
I appreciate you, Chris, man. I appreciate you because it takes a lot of integrity and it takes a lot to come out, and for somebody that knew him to even speak on his character.
And I knew I was going to get some flack in the chat, but that's fine.
You're always going to get that. I mean, I even get it.
Yeah. I'm just not used to all this,
Oh no, you're good, brother. You're good. I mean, like I said, man, I appreciate you coming up and elaborating what you do know, because we know there's a lot of questions from people that I've looked in the question part of the section that I have right now. It's a Q&A that I know you can't answer. So there's things that I've looked at. I'm like, that he can't answer that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and for any kind of fame or any kind of recollection to answer questions I don't know. I'm just here to tell you what I do.
Did he have pets? That's another question people are asking a lot. Did he have any pets at all whatsoever, or that when you've been over to his house, was there a dog, cat, or anything like that?
So the reason I know that he gamed is because I gamed as well.
Okay.
So I never went to his residence ever. So I wouldn't know any kind of pets, any kind of whatever. I just know school, after school in the weight room, and 2 or 3 encounters at one of my parties where, it's very, very brief, thanks for showing up, blah, blah, blah. He's hanging out talking, nothing, never caused a nuisance at one of my parties that would make me throw him out or anything like that. Got in a fight, did anything physical with anybody. So, yeah.
Very informative on that. I appreciate that, man. Now that explains a lot. So, Chris, I thank you for sharing everything that you shared with me, man. I don't want to hold you up for too long, but I do appreciate you coming up here and answering everything. I do. I got one more question. Did you guys ever game together?
Did we play together
online?
In a game?
Anything?
No. I gamed with a couple people that gamed with him in I don't know. Like I said, you have like shooter games, you have sports games, you have like the games that go on quests and stuff like that. I think he was more on like the quest games, like the I don't even know the names, Skyrim and all that kind of stuff.
RPG role playing games.
Yeah. So I was more in like the shooter aspect of games, and I never really played any of the RP. I haven't played video games in years, like since my daughter was born. So I guess RPG games is what you would call it.
RPG games, okay.
Yep.
Now at school or anything, like so he was just like a normal, but I don't know if you would classify him as a nerd or just a smart person, or
like I classified him. I didn't classify anybody as far as like being a nerd or anything. He was just an intelligent guy who was heavy in grade school, who lost a lot of weight in high school, that everybody could physically see that he was lost weight. So that's how everybody probably remembers him. and very smart, and just never really like stepped outside the line. He just walked a fine line. That's how he was able to get in all these good colleges. So, he didn't risk doing anything, or he didn't do anything in high school to what, Leah, sorry. He didn't do anything in high school to give any kind of indication that he could stab 4 people. Like, this is mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing from my aspect.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate you coming up, Chris. Detective John, are you there? Detective John, you're up on panel. You said you wanted me to ask him a question. What do you want me to ask him?
Can you hear me, Chris? Can you hear me?
Chris can't hear you, Detective John. But what question did you want me to ask him?
At what point did he discover that he had a heroin addict?
Okay, at what point, Chris? At what point did you discover that he had a heroin addiction?
What did you say? Yeah, I'll get you milk. So I'm not gonna say my buddy, but somebody that I knew a lot better than Bryan, after high school, did drugs with Bryan.
Okay. So somebody after high school, they did drugs with Bryan. Now, was that did the heroin problem come after high school?
In my opinion, 100%.
Okay.
Because when I was in high school, there was no heroin, there was no meth or anything in that area. Now it's littered with it. So all that came kind of just like crack came back in the 70s. It just hit 60s and 70s. It just hit all at once in the Poconos, and a lot of people got hooked on it, unfortunately. So.
Oh yeah, bro. It was heavy. It was heavy around there when I lived over in Northampton.
Yeah.
And East.
Exactly. So,
it was heavy there, bro. It was super heavy.
Yeah, because I see a lot of people thinking that he did this for money to pay for drugs, or he did this for drugs. But everybody needs to understand, this is somebody that's going for his PhD. Like, you can't do heroin and meth throughout college and be able to get in the position where he's at. So
I got another question, Trev.
Anything to do with this. I think the fascination of what he was studying, and he got too involved in it, that's what led to, and then something, obviously some other factors led to him doing this. That's my take on it.
Yeah, hell yeah. Detective John, what did you want me to ask him?
Was he aware when his parents had to file for bankruptcy and they lost their home and everything else?
Were you aware when the parents filed for bankruptcy and lost their home or anything else like that?
No.
No.
Like I said, no. I mean, even if my best friend's parents filed for bankruptcy and stuff, I wouldn't know.
Yeah, he said he didn't know about that.
But there's speculation from a certain person on here that they had a lot of money, and
well, there was just speculating that from a certain person on here that is talking they had a lot of money, etc.
And I don't believe that.
No. I mean, his mother worked at the school the whole time I was there, so it's not like they were both jobless at one point or anything. I remember her always being at the school the whole time I was in high school. So I don't know if they did file for bankruptcy. I don't know what happened, because that's not something that I can talk on, because I don't know.
Absolutely, man. Is there anything other questions you got for him, Detective John, that you want me to ask him before I let him go?
We really appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate you coming on, Chris, man. And thank you for being honest and answering all the questions that I could gather from Chad. There is more questions, but they're all the same, really. So it's it'd be a revolving door of the same questions over and over again. Pretty much, we handled it well, man. I appreciate you coming up and even volunteering to come up and answer some questions to maybe help people's confusion. And
then again, that's the only reason I'm not doing this for any kind of. I don't have a YouTube channel. I don't have anything that I need to promote or anything like that. I just see so many people saying this and that and this and that. It's like, no, like that's not it. So I just wanted to call, and if anybody had any questions, so then moving forward from this call on, when you hear something, just remember that, like, what I'm saying, because I have no reason to lie.
Oh, yeah, Chris, I do got one more question I seen in the chat. That's actually a good one that I'll leave it on the last one.
Sounds good.
Was he big into religion or religious at all?
From what I can see, not particularly, like not like religious in an aspect where, like, I went to church when I was a kid because I had to, but I wasn't like religious. So I can't speak on if what kind of religion he was, he had, and if he went to church every Sunday or anything like that. Like I said, I wasn't that close to him to know, information as far as other than what I, see, remember activities he did and stuff like that. I don't know what religion he was or how religious he was or anything of that aspect.
Well, I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you coming up. Like I said, man, thank you for coming up. Now some people can go back and listen and get some insight onto what somebody who actually knew and went to school with Bryan Kohberger actually, now they can get a little outlook or inside look on, what you knew about him, etc. Thank you for coming on to the podcast, brother. I appreciate you for reaching out,
man.
And God bless you and your family,
on here, man. You too, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Chris, man. You have a beautiful day, my brother.
You too. I got you, honey. I'll get you right now.
Shout out to Chris. Shout out to Chris. Shout out to Chris. Thank you for coming up there, Chris. I'll talk to Chris after this too and get his social media.